Let me share something strange I've noticed. I can still recall, word for word, a single line from a book I read over a decade ago. I remember the smell of the room, the exact page number, even the feeling in my chest when I first read it. But here's the fascinating part. I've forgotten almost everything else from that book. And if you're honest, the same thing happens to you. You read a book, you feel inspired, and then a week later, 90% of it is gone. It vanishes into the same black hole where old passwords and childhood phone numbers live. Now watch this shift in thinking. The problem isn't you. It's the way you approach memory. Most people treat their brain like a storage drive, but memory doesn't work like a hard disk. It works like a living network. So if you've been forcing yourself to take notes, highlight every page, or build some impossible second brain system just to remember, let me show you why that fails. And more importantly, let me show you what actually works. Over the next few chapters, I'll give you a 3-step retention system so powerful that remembering what you read will feel almost automatic. But first, let's bust the biggest myth about memory. Chapter 1. The Forgetting Curve. Most people believe that reading equals remembering, but science proves the opposite. On average, you'll forget half of what you read within 24 hours. And within a week, you'll forget almost everything. Here's what makes this fascinating. It's not because your brain is weak, it's because your brain is efficient. It throws away what it thinks is irrelevant. So the real question isn't, how do I force myself to remember? The real question is, how do I convince my brain that what I just read actually matters? That's where the system begins. Chapter 2. Immersion Triggers. Think about the last story you couldn't forget. A childhood memory, a powerful movie scene, a random conversation that stuck with you for years. You didn't remember it because you wrote it down. You remembered because it triggered emotion. This is the first secret to retention. Immersion. As you read, don't just passively absorb. Step into the scene. Visualize the idea. Ask yourself, what would this look like in my life? How would it feel to actually live this principle? Watch how this changes everything. Suddenly, a productivity tip isn't just text on a page. It becomes a scene where you imagine yourself applying it at work tomorrow. And that emotional imprint makes forgetting nearly impossible. Remember this, your brain doesn't keep facts. It keeps experiences. So turn your reading into experience. Chapter 3. Mental linking. Now let's talk about the second step, linking. Your brain is a network, not a filing cabinet, and networks thrive on connections. When you read something new, don't let it float as an isolated fact. Connect it. Link it to something you already know. Here's how this works in practice. Suppose you're reading about habits. Instead of thinking, that's interesting, ask, where have I seen this before? What in my life does this connect to? You're not just memorizing, you're weaving new information into your existing web of knowledge. And here's the fascinating part. Once it's woven in, it sticks. Think of it like Velcro. A single hook won't hold, but dozens of tiny connections? Now the memory clings effortlessly. Chapter 4. Micro-recall moments. This is the final step, and the one almost nobody uses. Memory doesn't happen when you input information. Memory happens when you pull it out. That's why highlighting alone is useless. That's why endless note-taking feels like work but produces nothing. Instead, you need micro-recall moments. Here's how it works. At the end of each day, take 30 seconds. Close the book, close your eyes, and ask, what's the single most important idea I remember from today? That's it. No notebook, no spreadsheet, just retrieval. Watch what happens after a week. Those 30-second sessions compound into a permanent memory bank. Because you didn't just read, you rehearsed remembering. Chapter 5. The Challenge. Now here's my challenge to you. With your next book, forget the notes, forget the highlights, Forget the pressure to study your reading. Instead, use the 3-step retention system. Immersion triggers. Feel what you read. Mental linking. Connect it to what you already know. Micro-recall moments. 30 seconds a day to lock it in. Do this, and a week from now, you'll shock yourself with how much you remember. And when you try it, come back here and comment what stuck with you, because that's how we turn passive reading into permanent knowledge.